Welcome to Mike's Retro Curiosities, where we explore the wonderful world of retro games. I have something a little unusual for you today. This is Isaac Asimov's Robots, a VHS board game. Now, VHS board games are something of a forgotten format. Back in the day, these were very popular. Probably the most well-known example of that was Nightmare. Now, the idea with these sorts of games was that you would be playing a board game and you'd also have a VHS playing it at the same time. And, characters on the screen would sometimes tell the players to do stuff like roll the dice or other things, or sometimes there would be a story that would sort of give context to the board game. This style of game kind of mostly died out after DVDs came out. There was an attempt to make DVD board games, especially I think the most popular version of that was Seen It, but they never quite managed to reach the same level of popularity as VHS board games had. Now, there were tons of these sorts of games made back in the day, most of them not very good, if I'm being honest, but there were a few very good ones, and this one's one of the best in my opinion. This game is based off of the legendary works of acclaimed sci-fi author Isaac Asimov, who's probably best known for stuff like I, Robot and Foundation. Now, I have to admit, I am a huge Asimov fan. He's probably tied for my favorite author with J.R.R. Tolkien. I love all of his works. I've been reading him since I was in middle school. I just can't get enough of him. Unfortunately, I don't feel he quite gets the love he deserves in terms of adaptations into gaming. There have been a few sort of adaptations of his books over the years. I think that there was an early computer game that was an adaptation of Robots of the Dawn, and then I think that and then more recently there was a VR game called Journey to Foundation. But I really feel like his works are just rife for adaptation, and I think that there should be a lot more of them. But luckily we have this one, and this one's very good. Now, both the Caves of Steel and this game are set in the world of Isaac Asimov's Robots. So the robots operate on the three laws of robotics: that one, a robot may not harm a human being, or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. Two, a robot must follow the orders of any human being unless doing so conflicts with the first law. And three, a robot must protect its own existence unless doing so conflicts with the first two laws. The basic premise is, this game basically and the book itself both take place several hundred years in the future after the events of I, Robot, where essentially Earth has more or less banned Robot because they have what's called a Frankenstein complex, where they kind of grew paranoid that robots would rise up and try to take over the world. Plus, they were also kind of afraid that they would take their jobs, too. Overpopulation has led to the creation of massive enclosed megacities. Like some of them are like as big as New York and New Jersey combined, basically sort of mushed together and sort of combined into one massive city. Due to essentially living in enclosed spaces all their lives, humans on Earth have essentially become agoraphobic. They've become terrified of open spaces. But beyond that, there's another group of humans called the Spacers, who have essentially colonized other planets, with the help of robots, and have become sort of very reliant on said robots for pretty much every aspect of their lives. The Spacers have in many ways become more technologically advanced and more sophisticated than their Earth cousins. However, they've also kind of become decadent in some ways. The Spacers, due to being overly reliant on robot, they've kind of lost all initiative. Like the drive to explore other planets has more or less disappeared. They're really just content to just live comfortable lives on the worlds that they've already colonized rather than exploring any further. Also, due to they and their ancestors more or less living in mostly sanitized environments for most of their lives, they've essentially their immune systems have become severely weakened, and as a result, they've become very germophobic. They're very much afraid of Earthmen and their bacteria that they might carry. However, in spite of this, a group of spacers have essentially come back to Earth and established a community here. And this has created massive tensions between the Earthers and the Spacers because they very much do not like each other. And on top of that, the Spacers brought their robots back with them, which again the Earth people do not like at all. Things come to a head with the attempted assassination of a notable spacer scientist, which kind of causes the tensions between the two groups to come to a boil and might lead to war. So it is vital that the identity of the attempted murderer be discovered and that they be brought to justice. On this case are an Earth detective named Elijah Bailey and a robot detective from the Spacers called R. Daniel Oliva. At first, Elijah Bailey is very sort of robophobic. He, much like the other people from Earth, he does not like robots. But over time, the two of them actually grow sort of a mutual respect and even kind of a very sort of sweet friendship with each other. It leads to a very sort of unlikely friendship / buddy cop dynamic between them. So if we look inside of the box here, you can see we have Elijah Bailey's notebook, which gives various clues to the player. We have sort of a general guide that tells you some important data, gives you an overview of some of the characters, as well as gives you a little map of the affected area. There's also the answer book, the various game cards that you play with, and the VHS itself and the VHS tape itself. So the idea with this game is that there are 4 difficulties: beginner, intermediate, expert, and advanced. And you can sort of choose one depending on how good you think you are as a detective. And each set of cards are basically clues. The idea is that as the film is playing, the characters will sort of pick up clues sort of off screen, and when that happens, that's the player's cue to draw a card from the pack, and that is the clue that they discovered. And by the end of when the tape ends, you have to figure out who the attempted murderer is, as well as their motive. Because there are so many, because you can get different combinations of cards and even in different orders, there are actually quite a few different combinations you can get, and even who the attempted murderer is can even change based on what combination of clues you get, which actually gives the game a lot of replay value. Plus, the game can get quite challenging, especially at higher levels. Overall, it's really a great mystery, and it's a lot of fun to play. Unfortunately, this game has one major limitation, and that is the videotape itself. It's clear that whoever made this, I guess it's Kodak, they did not have much of a budget. The effects and video production quality in general are poor, to say the least. Not the worst thing in the world. I've certainly seen worse. It conveys the story decently, and even the performances are okay. But needless to say, it could have been a lot better. Nonetheless, this is a really fun game. It definitely does a great job faithfully adapting Asimov's novels, and overall, it's just a fun time. I definitely recommend it if you enjoy this sort of thing, or if you're a fan of Asimov. But once again, this kind of just makes me wish that there were more games that would adapt his works, preferably with higher budget and better production values next time. But still, I guess beggars can't be choosers, right? Still, it's a great time. Well, that'll be it for today. I'd like to remind you, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.